Hi everyone, I'm Spider-Man 1991 here with the last GN Monthly. Basically when I started this series, it was supposed to be a monthly video series where I would talk about the graphic novels I read that month, and the time I created this series, I was getting like maybe 2 or 3 graphic novels a month. Eventually though, that number got really small. Eventually got to the point where I only got like one graphic novel almost every 2 months, so it kind of went in the reverse of that. And also sometimes I would look, whenever on months when I only did read one graphic novel, I would be like, okay, I don't think this is enough to support one video, so I kind of feel like I should really try to like reformat. So this isn't really a cancellation. Like, I'm not going to stop reviewing graphic novels and trades. I think I'm just going to like reformat this so that either sort of something where I could upload a video every 3 months, or I could just do individual videos on each graphic novel I read. Because I think one of those two, although I'm really aiming towards the latter, about how to still review graphic novels, because I feel like that's something that I should have, since I am a comic book reviewer. I should review graphic novels as well as single issues. So for now, this is the last GN Monthly. Well, this is going to be the last graphic novel review video that I titled GN Monthly. So I think so I'm still undecided about the format. Which one would you like better? I review a bunch every 3 months, or I just do one video for every graphic novel I review. Like if I read an X Factor and a Wolverine graphic novel, then I do one video for each of those books. So, so let me know in the comments below what you like. So, okay, enough of the stupid intro stuff. Let's get into the actual graphic novels. By the way, I want to point out that all of these graphic novels are from Marvel. Okay, so starting off, we're gonna have Irredeemable Ant-Man. This collects the 12-issue series that tells how Eric O'Grady became Ant-Man. And this is written by Robert Kirkman, who a lot of you know from his work at Image Comics with Invincible and obviously The Walking Dead. Kirkman pretty much creates a hero, who's not really a hero. Eric O'Grady is pretty much, at the beginning of the issue, he's selfish, does whatever, pretty much lies and cheats to get whatever he wants. He's a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent too, until one day he steals the Ant-Man suit and eventually just kind of like uses it for his own personal gain. Eventually, when he steals the suit, he creates a fake identity. He eventually comes into contact with Black Fox and steals from him to kind of like create a false identity and work for damage control while pretending to be a hero, when really he got to where he is through unethical means. And eventually, though, S.H.I.E.L.D. figures out O'Grady stole the suit, and they send some people after him. But ultimately, O'Grady is able to get sort of lie his way out of it. All of this takes place immediately. Well, at the start of this issue, it takes place during the story arc Wolverine, Enemy of the State. Then it continues like throughout Civil War. And pretty much by the end of the series, it's at the time when Iron Man is director of S.H.I.E.L.D. So, I would say overall, this series is definitely interesting. It's pretty much someone who isn't really your ideal choice to be a hero. Eric O'Grady really isn't someone who deserves this suit, but he does sort of progress as a character, because at the end, when he does have to face his own responsibility, he does have to make a choice that a lot of people would do to be responsible. He kind of realizes that, he's not responsible to make this decision, that he can't be doing this thing, and so it's kind of wrong, but for the right reasons type of decision he makes. Can't really say what it is because I don't want to get too much into this, but yeah, I would say if you like Robert Kirkman's work, if you're a fan of heroes that have flaws, then definitely check out Irredeemable Ant-Man, because it is a very good series, and it does have a lot of humorous moments in it. I want to point that out too. It does have a lot of humor in it. Alright. Next up, X Factor Visionaries by Peter David, Volume 3. This story arc, the government X Factor team deals with the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, when a bunch of mutant refugees from Genosha show up to seek asylum on U.S. soil. Of course, the Brotherhood shows up, led by Toad, and when I say Brotherhood, this doesn't involve Magneto. It involves Toad and and Sauron and who else? Yeah, okay. I'm not gonna open it up and read it. Okay. Anyways, it does tie into the story arc. I believe it's called X-Men Executioner Saga. So I would say and again it's and again this is by Peter David, and this is his really early work on his very first work on X Factor, and there is some interesting character developments. There is a moment in this where not with the Brotherhood mission, but also when Guido is Strong Guy's poison, and he's not fully trusting of the government scientists who say that they can cure him, and Alex is like, okay Guido, you know what? And Alex takes some of the poison that Guido was infected with and says, all right, now we both need the antidote, and I trust them, and I want you to get safe, buddy. So Alex kind of does that to make to kind of get Guido to trust the government and pretty much get back in the game. And at the end of the issue, Quicksilver asks Havoc about it, and he says like, wait, did you really take that poison? And Havoc says, no, actually I threw the poison out, that was just tap water. And Quicksilver's like, you lied to gain someone's respect, Summers. I respect you even more now. So yeah, a lot of funny moments, with some serious stuff, like at the end where pretty much X Factor, who's this government sponsored team, is kind of like sort of in charge of the situation with the mutant refugees. So, you know, I'd say if you like Peter David on X Factor, you should definitely give these these stories from the 90s a shot, because they are very interesting. And speaking of Peter David on X Factor, I also got X Factor by Peter David, the Ultimate Collection, Volume 1. This is the last X Factor series that was written by Peter David. This is when X Factor was a detective agency in the District of New York known as Mutant Town, and it's led by Jamie Madrox, aka Multiple Man. This pretty much for the first volume here, it collects the Prelude series, the 5-issue Jamie Madrox miniseries, as well as the first 12 issues of this volume of X Factor. And I gotta say, I like what Peter David does. Peter David really makes Jamie Madrox the central character of this particular X Factor series, and I like how he writes Jamie Madrox, because the Madrox miniseries was probably my favorite part of the issue. Basically, we learned that Jamie Madrox has made a bunch of duplicates of himself, and he sent them all across the earth to learn different skills, and that that way when a duplicate returns to him, he can just reabsorb that duplicate and learn all the skills that duplicate learns. Like, he can just send one off to go learn karate, he can send another one off to learn how to pick a lock, and then bring them all back, reabsorb them, and he has all those skills. So, and also this does tie into, since this stuff did come out in like 2006, it does tie into Civil War, and also Decimation too. There's also Decimation, because X Factor is trying to, one of the things that X Factor is trying to do when Jamie brings this whole new team together is they're trying to figure out what exactly happened that caused all the mutants almost all the mutants to lose their powers. So yeah, overall I would say, again, Peter David is an excellent writer. He does a brilliant job on X Factor. This is definitely a buy. Okay, next up, this is a character I recently started to get, whose new series I recently started to get into, Moon Knight, Countdown to Dark. This collects all of the Moon Knight. Before Moon Knight had his own series, he made a couple of appearances in the Hulk magazine. And this hardcover Countdown to Dark collects all those stories before Moon Knight got his own ongoing, and it's very interesting. Moon Knight is definitely a very interesting character, because he has multiple personality disorder, and he's able to sort of use that as an advantage. He's Mark Spector, former mercenary turned superhero, after he died in a temple to a moon god and was brought back to life with the ability that his strength would increase the stronger the fuller the moon is. And so basically what Mark is able, and also his other two identities are Steve Dayton, a billionaire that he's able to use to help sort of give a financial explanation to his exploits, as well as crap, I forgot the third personality, but he has the third personality. It's not in the book jacket, but and he's able to use his third personality to work as a cab driver and be sort of a street and sort of figure out things on the street rather than going out as Moon Knight and figuring it out. And one of these things, and there are a lot of interesting stories in here. One particular, which is where Moon Knight goes after a serial killer who's pretty much slashing women at night, and it turns out to be Mark's brother. So that was it was dark, but very interesting at the same time. And one of the reasons I got this was because I was just starting to get the Moon Knight Marvel Now series, and also because this was only $10 on Amazon. It was. Weekend I looked it up. I saw it was only $10 on Amazon. I thought, okay, I'll get this. But unfortunately, it's no longer at that price. But if you can get good, the cover price of this is worth about, I believe, $25. So if you can get something lower than that, I would say get it. This book is amazing. I mean, it collects some of the early Moon Knight series, like the very first ones. You can only find them in the Essential Marvel graphic novel series, which are just black and white reprints. So if you want some old Moon Knight stories that are in color, you should definitely check out Countdown to Dark, because it is awesome. Yeah, that was the book. And another graphic novel that I got is Moon Knight: The Bottom, which is written by Charles Huston, and it's pretty much Moon Knight, his ongoing right after he. I would say this, and again, this is like right before Civil War, and it's very, and this was definitely something interesting to read after reading Countdown to Dark, which were pretty much like Moon Knight in his prime, and in this case, it opens up with Mark Spector, pretty much with broken legs, in a wheelchair, because apparently what happened was Mark Spector during his last night as Moon Knight, he fights his archenemy, who was former associate of Mark Spector, Bushman, and eventually leads, and they get in a fight, and ultimately leads to Mark suffering a very huge fall, where almost from a 10-story building, where he survives, but his legs are really very much broken. It really explains why he's in a wheelchair at this point, and Mark is able to win the fight by using one of his moon blades to sort of bounce off and skin Bushman's face right off, and that was pretty much Mark's last night as Moon Knight until this series, where Mark's pretty much gets back in the game once he's sort of sees his old pal Frenchie again, and then he's sort of starting to have these hallucinations of the moon god Kiyoshi, I think that's how you pronounce it, coming to him, and these visions sort of telling him that he never left him and that he needs to sort of get back in the game. And at this point also, Moon Knight's old archenemies, the Committee, as they used to be called, which also made appearances during Countdown to Dark. They're not the same committee. They're new ones. They hire Taskmaster to take care of Moon Knight. And unfortunately, when Taskmaster shows up, Mark is still able to get him and Marlene out of there, and that pretty much helps reignite Mark's fire, and it gets him in the game again. And pretty much by the end of the story arc, he is back and he's ready to deal out justice again. Yeah. So yeah, Moon Knight. I really did like The Bottom a lot, because the artwork is, first of all, really nice artwork. Second of all, interesting. They do play a lot with this series did. I mean, this story arc, they did focus a lot more on the whole mythology behind Moon Knight's abilities. They did bring it up a couple of times here and there in the earlier stories, but they really did a lot. Felt like they did a lot with it for this series, and also I did like how, I Also, to be fair though, there is a lot of gore and violence, especially like that thing I said where Mark cuts off Bushman's face. That is not meant for kids. So, yeah, I would say Moon Knight, the bottom, definitely something that you should read, and you'll definitely enjoy it a lot more if you read it after Countdown to Dark or after any of the earlier Moon Knight stories, because they are really awesome. That was a book. And okay, last graphic novel. This is the one I most recently read. It's New Avengers, Marvel Now. Everything Dies. Pretty much this is the New Avengers series that was part of the Marvel Now, and it's pretty much focused on the Illuminati of the Marvel Universe, which pretty much consists of Black Panther, Iron Man, Captain America, who is sort of kicked out halfway through the story, Namor, the Submariner, Dr. Stephen Strange, and Professor X was a member until his death, and he's replaced by Beast because Professor X left the Mind Gem to Beast in his will. Oh, and Black Bolt the Inhumans. Why did I forget him? And Mr. Fantastic. Wait, I said Mr. Fantastic. I gotta start writing these things down. Anyways, Black Panther has called the Illuminati together because he's just discovered that someone is somehow destroying Earths, and apparently this is all key to the multiverse, that over time 2 different versions of Earths kind of collide with each other, and they destroy each other, and creates this kind of collision that could effectively sort of sorry, my throat's dry, that could sort of lead to the end of their Earth. And so pretty much Black Panther decided to get everyone together so that they could kind of prevent these collisions, so that they wouldn't have to lose their planet. And so, first of all, Captain America said, when they were their first idea, and this is an idea from Captain America, they decide to put together the Infinity Gauntlet back together, and that leads to them. Of course, everyone up to this point has an Infinity Gem except for Black Panther, because originally, and you do get to see this in the first issue, he didn't want to be a part of it, but he called them in because he figures desperate times. And of course, they need to find Professor Xavier's gem, and that leads them to finding Beast. But fortunately, they're able to do that because all the Infinity Gems kind of call out to each other. So they get Beast in on the project. They are able to stop the collision. However, it results in them. However, when Captain America wields the gauntlet, he's able to stop the Earths from colliding to each other, but the gauntlet is destroyed. So now they have to figure out another way to stop this. But ultimately, though, after this, halfway through the story arc, though, Captain America is kind of like, okay, I really don't agree with what we're doing here. We need to stop all the secrecy. And of course, at this point, everyone else on the team is just like, okay, Cap, we're sorry you feel that way, and they kind of knock him out and take his Infinity Gem and kick him out of the team. So yeah, and then ultimately it leads to the remaining 6 figuring out how to stop the next collision. And ultimately, though, the only way they could do it is by sort of destroying the other Earth that's about to collide with them. And there is a big moment at the end where Black Panther is the one who's forced to fire off the device, and they ask him, like, what are you waiting for? Do it. And Black Panther says, I'm taking a moment to remember who the man I once was. And pretty much all this does, and this is by Jonathan Hickman, so all of this does lead into Infinity, which I'm hoping to read sometime in the near future. Okay, so New Avengers, not bad. It's definitely not your traditional It's definitely something when I think it's a great story that shows like what happens when superheroes start to think in terms of the big picture, like not just trying to stop the occasional supervillain or world conqueror, but like saving the actual Earth or delaying the inevitable death. You know, stuff like that. I think that's what makes the Illuminati Avengers team really awesome, and it's very interesting and definitely not your traditional, and definitely holds to the whole new part of the New Avengers title. So I would say definitely if you didn't read New Avengers when it first came out, definitely pick this up because it's great. Oh yeah, one more thing I want to talk about, and this is something that I think that I think it does deal with this book, but not really the story, because what happened was, you pretty much for Marvel Now graphic novels, if you get one of these things, they'll have a little slip of paper inside them here, which will give you a code to redeem a digital copy. However, if you buy this from like a Barnes & Noble or a comic store, you notice that the plastic wrap is like ripped off or something, chances are someone took the code and already redeemed it. That's what happened to me. After I read this, I went to redeem the code and it said it was already redeemed. To be honest, I kind of had a feeling, but I really wanted to read this, so bought it anyway. But hey, I have a print copy, so all's good. But I'm just pointing that out just in case someone wanted to like keep the code and like give it to someone else or something. Just be warned of that in case that it happens to you. And I didn't report it to Marvel or Comixology because I figured there was like no way of proving that I already redeemed it or anything like that. So yeah, that's pretty unfortunate. But hey, I still have the printed copy, so I'm okay with it. So I'm kind of okay with it. A little ticked off, but overall, still have the copy. And it's also a great story, so I can see why someone would want to take it. But yeah, that's it for me. That is it for GN Monthly. I'm not going to stop reviewing graphic novels. I'm still trying to figure out which is better. Which would you, my audience, would like to see? Would you like to see the options I was going over? Would you like to see a bunch of graphic novels reviewed over like a longer time period, like 3 months? Or would you rather I just do one video for each graphic novel I read? Please let me know in the comments below what you prefer. Also, thank you again for subscribing to me, whether you subscribed from the very beginning or yesterday. Thanks again. I appreciate all the love. I'm Spider-Man 1991 saying, see you later.